When I was in my early 20s, I used to look up to people who had power, who had money, who had status, who was somebody. I used to look up to this one cardiologist that works at my hospital. Very wealthy, very well accomplished. I think he's a professor now. I think that's his title. The reason why he stuck out to me, more than anyone else, is because he had this love for cars. So whenever you would have a code STEMI or a heart attack, somebody comes in with a heart attack after hours, he would rock up if he was on call to, do the procedure to unclog the artery or stent it or whatever. If you're doing a night shift, you would often see him rock up in all sorts of cars, man. Like I've seen him from Aston Martins to, Maseratis, you name it. Like he had, apparently the word is, he's got a freaking hangar at the airport full of these cars, and he's a pilot as well, so he flies. He's got a private, thing. Very wealthy guy, very well established. And so, 20-year-old Devon, I used to see that and be like, wow, man, what success. What success. But then over the years of rubbing shoulders with a whole bunch of people, meeting a whole bunch of patients, I think when you're in healthcare, when you're a nurse, I guess especially, you spend a lot of time with patients. You meet a lot of people. It's kind of unique because when you're in that patient nurse, patient doctor kind of scenario, it's not that people open up to you, but you have more meaningful conversation than, say, if you're a checkout chick at freaking Woolies or something like that. There's no vibe there to kind of talk about serious things. It's all kind of small talk and you move on. But when somebody's unwell, when somebody's going through a tough time, they tend to kind of be more deep and meaningful. And these conversations you connect with people and you learn valuable things when people are opening up in such a way. Now that I'm in my mid-30s, I don't look up to people anymore, that have power, cars, status, all that sort of stuff. Because after meeting all of these people in my career, in my life, I've kind of worked out that there is no commonality. There's no relationship between happiness and money in the sense, I don't want to say you can be happy with $0 in your pocket because you got to eat, there's basic needs here. But I don't look up to people who have that next level money. Because after all of these years of bumping shoulders with really well, placed people in their career, for the most part, man, you meet these people, they don't look happy. They don't radiate happiness. I don't want to say they don't in general, but there's this vibe about them that they're always kind of on this fast lane in life. It's just go, go, go. You never have them more than 2 seconds. It's just always go, go, go. These people are rocking up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning to do these procedures for people. And even though they have fancy cars and status, and the dialogue between that individual and most other people within that hospital, in that department, is very one way. Nobody talks to that guy almost in a natural way, because people feel the power, people feel the difference in status. But then you meet patients who have, I don't want to say nothing, but people who are just normal, right? Just freaking, working class people, freaking with not much to their name, and just cracking smiles, cracking jokes, happy. They enter the room, the freaking ambience changes just purely by their presence. And so after you get exposed to hundreds, if not thousands of these scenarios over the course of your career, over the course of your life, you kind of realize, hold on a minute, man, there's a pattern forming here. There's a common denominator. Some of these people with lots of money also have lots of stress and responsibility, and the relationships are strained. I think to myself, to achieve some of these things that people achieve, a lot of time has to go into that. And when you talk about time and how finite this currency is, this time currency is, if you spend 1 trillion hours into your career, that's 1 trillion hours you haven't spent with your personal relationships, your wife, your kids. And so I've got a whole bunch of, case studies in my mind, scenarios of doctors who I've by chance met their family, and you kind of get shocked by the relationship of the family, and you think this person is made, the home is also made, but it's not. It doesn't go like that. And a lot of these people don't have quality relationships. I've got best friends in my life, 2 guys that are basically like my brothers. right? And that's taken a lot of time over the years to build that bond. Now, if I was somebody who was running around the globe, from spot to spot, always changing my location and chasing that, whatever the hell I'm chasing, I wouldn't have had that time to invest. So whenever you see somebody who seems like, they've made this happy image, or you think, wow, man, I wish I was that guy, don't come to that conclusion too quickly, because you never know what the cost was. Because this is the thing, man, like, you might have $1 trillion, but you don't have 1 trillion hours more than me. Everyone's on this, like, the one thing that ticks equally for everyone is time. And so this is something that I've learned over the years. It's like, okay, do I want to go down the medicine pathway, sink all these hours into it? I'm not saying it's not possible to maintain a well-balanced life, but like, I'm talking about the peak of peak, like these guys who have maxed out their careers. I don't know if it's possible to also have spend 1 million hours with your kids, 1 million hours with your wife, 1 million hours with your career, 1 million hours on your body, 1 million hours in some other community. It's like you are taking all of your resources and putting into that one basket. And if that makes you happy, that's cool. We're all different. But from my perspective, it's like, I remember the conversation I had with my partner. I was 25, I was sitting in the game set, I wanted to do medicine. Like, I felt under stimulated, I felt under accomplished just being a nurse. Even though I specialized in ED as an ED nurse, I felt like I can do better than this. Like, medicine's not that hard. So I went down the path for the next 2 years, studying for the game set, passed it both times. Went for the interview, didn't pass the interview. They said, look, your overall score between the GPA or the university score, your interview score and the game set score is good enough to get into a bunch of universities around Australia. You should move. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, do I want to displace my partner, myself? We're thinking about, starting a family soon. Do I want to rip her out of her comfort zone, take her to a different place, have kids? She has to work to support me in a way because I'm doing this medicine thing. How long is that going to take? It's like a whole bunch of things, and there's a cost. There's a cost to these things. And I'm not saying that my decisions are for you or your decisions are for me. You just have to sit down and look at the chessboard and think to yourself, is this worth the cost? What sort of life do I want to live? And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. They're like, oh, you got to study hard, you got to study hard. And they kind of sell this whole career thing like it's everything. No, man. I've met people that I've kind of aimed at when I was 22, 23, 24. I've met the finished product. And I look at them into the eyes and I'm like, well, that shit isn't what I thought it was going to be. This dude looks pissed off. He doesn't radiate happiness. That tradie over there that's pouring concrete for a living, he comes in and he's like, hey, what's up, guys? How you going? Have a good day. Have a great day. Like, he's just happier person, man. Whereas this guy over here, he's 10 times, 20 million times, better status and position in life. It just doesn't radiate the same thing. It's like, I'm not saying that there are no doctors in the world who have stability and balance, but I'm just saying to you, you have to look at your life and what you want and go from there. Don't think that every single doctor in the world is happy. Don't think that every CEO is happy. Don't think that people that have a massive house in a really good area are happy. It's not like that, man. Like, there's more to it. And I think my experience, my position in life, meeting all these people on their deathbeds, sick people, like opening up to me and having good quality conversations with a whole bunch of people, man. Like, a whole bunch of people. Like, every single day I go to work, man, I meet countless people, man. Like, if I work at triage, I'll probably triage 50 people. 50 people talking about them, and then in the acute area, intimately, taking care of them and looking after them. The conversations I had, and when an opportunity kind of arises, you often kind of go down the whole life thing, and they would ask me, what do you do? Do you have a family? Do you have kids? And I'd ask them, and blah 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 blah. They talk about their illness, what they've done, have they been to the army? And you kind of, just the other day, I met somebody who was, who had pancreatic cancer, and he was in the midst of chemo. And I don't know if you guys know, but pancreatic cancer is a particularly bad form of cancer. Lost my father-in-law to that cancer a few years ago. Basically took him from being well to casket 4 months. Before that, he was fine. 4 months from diagnosis to casket. so brutal. And so I'm looking after this man, and I know from clinically, from professionally, and also from personally what he's dealing with. And he was in good spirits, and thankful that what I'm doing for him and whatnot. And started talking about things, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm from the UK, moved here, married an Australian girl, came here, spent some time in the army." He was involved with the whole Northern Ireland, trouble, all the trouble that was there. I think it was in the 80s. I think he said, saw what he saw, told me about that, told me about his life path, career, kids, all that stuff, the support that he's got now and all that. And, these types of things, man, like normal people don't meet people like that or these conversations on a regular basis. And once you're kind of exposed to a fair few of those, I mean, everyone's got a different threshold, I guess, but once you get exposed to a certain amount of these types of scenarios and stories and feelings, it changes your perspective on life, and you kind of view life as this finite thing, as this, like, time means more. On a regular basis, I get reminded of this. And so that's unnatural, as in most people out there don't think about the things I think about on a daily basis. Like if you're working as an accountant, if you're working at whatever, business, you don't have these type of conversations because it's a different professional vibe, I'd imagine. But it just makes me think. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by somebody else's image of success. Because oftentimes when you look, into their eyes, and you stop, thinking, and you start feeling what that energy is from them, you kind of quickly realize whether you want to be that or you don't want to be that. So it's an interesting thing, and we can tie this back up to what we're doing here, training. Just because somebody has a 300 kilo squat doesn't make them happier than you or more successful, or because a lot of times, man, like these people that have these numbers, freakish numbers, they have to pay a cost. What cost might that be, Ivan? I don't know, man. I think we all know what the cost is when you are some of these guys that we look up to. Health is definitely a cost. Injuries. Some of these guys push beyond what these receptors in their body are telling them. So it's kind of like, okay, I've got a 200 kilo squat. That guy's got a 300 kilo squat, but my back doesn't hurt. I haven't herniated any discs. My liver's good. My kidneys are good. I haven't taken steroids. That guy's got a whole bunch of herniated discs, steroids on board, complications from that, blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of like, it's all about trading. It's like all of these things are tradable. There's a cost for everything. And so don't be foolish to think, if I just had a 300 kilo squat, I'd be happy. Because you can't really just pluck things off a tree and just walk away. It doesn't work like that. If you can get a 300 kilo squat without steroids, without injuries, now we're talking. But that's something that doesn't happen all the time. Just like the doctors who are happy, family, married, kids love them and are in their life, and they have a nice career. Just don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the shiny Ferrari thinking that's where happiness is. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.